our babies, our children, because we keep thinking it's all about getting material. No, it's about getting knowledge of self. When you have the knowledge of self, it's just like you being educated. My mother was a foreign language teacher. She spoke 4 languages. You couldn't tell her nothing. She knew her stuff. She correcting people in their language. I said, go on with your bad self. When you have the knowledge of God, what is man going to do? You operating at a whole different level. And the world wants you to think that this is not that important. So how much money you got that makes you important. There's people committing suicide almost dead who got money, had access to it. So obviously that ain't the answer. As we go into, I'm left-handed, so I'm going to bring this over here. Is that okay if I bring it on this? Oh, I can't? I can't? Okay, thank you. Oh, okay, I can take it out too. Good. For some reason, my left hand, when I'm on the left-handed side, I feel like I should be on my right. Whatever that's about. Okay. I can take it and move around. Okay. Because I'm going to try to write some of them. See if I can do it while it's in here. I'll try to take it out and put it back when I write. Maybe that'll work. Do I pull it straight out? This way. Okay. Thank you. So what you all have in front of you is 2 things that has been with me and in me for 30, 35 years or more. One is the 11 supreme laws that governs the entire universe. These 11 laws is like your human body. It's like your anatomy. 7 major systems in your body are all government. They all work in unison to allow you to function every day. They all know their place. They all know what they should be doing. Ain't that something? Every molecule, cell, atom already has been designed to know exactly what to do every day to keep you functioning, operating in consciousness and your physicality. And that's what the universal laws do. Entire universe. There's 3 basic things that governs the entire universe. 3 things: energy, matter, and elements. So here's the mathematical equation for all of us to understand. And most of us here understand this because we're here. But the world is in trouble. Energy is the source of all life. And we call that spirit when we deal with the human factor. The matter is dead. It has no life form until you give it an energy source. We all learned that in school, basic sciences. So why is it that everybody's running to the matter without the energy source? So as I give these type of lessons constantly, all I'm really doing is mathematics, y'all, just taking us back to the basics. That's all I'm doing. I ain't doing nothing difficult, nothing. I'm just going, because, you start talking, what is he talking about? Come on, y'all, I'm talking math. Basic math. But they're making sure the kids don't learn this in school. The children are not getting the basic fundamentals anymore. They done made math seem weird. I'm like, what is this stuff? I didn't learn math like this. And so the more you realize your true potential in the mathematical field of your gift, talent, and ability, you would just naturally accelerate. And that's why they're making it very difficult, and that's why they're confusing things, because they realize that at some point, the folks who try to run this world. So these laws, the first one, as I started with this morning, your reason for being, is the foundation of all human life. So when God created, in the Bible, God created the jackass. And those of you all familiar with the scripture, he says, even though I created the jackass, I hate the braying of a mule. This is God talking. I hate the braying of a mule. Hee-haw, hee-haw. But it has purpose. When you think about somebody complaining all the time, it kind of sounds like the braying of ass. That's kind of what you hear. Hee-haw, hee-haw, right? Because you really ain't paying attention. You might be courteous or polite, just listening, but you really ain't listening. Because, if that person complains all the time, you begin to know it's a habitual behavior. And there's nothing the person's going to do to change it. And so as we become students of law and understand how these laws work with mathematical certainty, they work every time, all the time, on time, and they never miss. You're not going to violate that law because you know that law is the law. And so that's what my life has been. So I have something that I write in all books, in all works I do. I help people to understand the life lesson that you're going to get. So you can either get the life lesson or you can follow the law. Good God Almighty. I'm going to say that again. You can either follow the law or you can get the life lesson that's coming to you. Now, the scripture teaches us that God's love is something that is kind of like undescribable. But his love sometimes comes in the form of chastisement. It's almost like you and me as parents for our children. Sometimes you have to love the child into a spanking or a situation that may be harsh to them, but it's because you know they're off course and you're attempting to get them back on course. Now, of course, that used to work much better in the older days than now because of all the rules and laws and changes. And so God's chastisement, being his love, comes through an order, comes through a fundamental practice that helps us to understand this thing called life. But that's what the laws are here to do. So when I used to travel the country, I was a marketer, and I would do seminars all over the country. And sometimes I would open up the seminar by talking about the law on water and the law on gravity. And the reason why I chose water and gravity, because each and every one of us experiences water and gravity every day. Don't we, Reverend Burnett? And so because we experience water and gravity every day, when somebody starts talking to you about water and gravity, you ain't unfamiliar with, you know. Yeah. So I would say you drink water. As the law governs it, you drink water so you don't dehydrate. You bathe in water so you don't smell. But you might be an Olympic swimmer, but you're still not going to go too far out there in the ocean, because you still may drown. Well, gravity, similar. You don't go too close to the edge of your rooftop or building, because you may still fall and break your neck, break your leg, kill yourself. But a 1-year-old baby will walk straight off the rooftop because he or she doesn't have enough experience with gravity yet. So just as those laws that we experience hundreds and thousands of times in our life, the thousands and thousands of other laws, just like water and gravity, we're not paying attention to. And that's what the book is about. That's what my life is about. That's what I write about. The life lesson that's awaiting you because you are not following the law in which was given to you for your benefit. So God's laws were designed to make us understand purpose of why we're here, gifts, talents, abilities of why we've come. And so here's the first powerful law of the universe. It's right here. It's nowhere in the world that you can't go into a meditation, as Brother Aaron was showing us this morning, and spend some quiet time with yourself, because you got 24 hours, 7 days a week, and get in sync with that law of your purpose. I remember back when I was 2 and 3 years old, asking the adults, why, Mom? How come? Why? How come? Why? And they would, get to a point they would get annoyed. And you know what I would say at 5 and 6 to my grandma and them? That's just the way God made me. I can't help it. You could not tell me something that was going to shut me down because I needed to know. And that why was just like something that was cemented in who I was. And so that why became a journey for me of discovery, discovering the self. Me beginning to know who I am as it is according to the law, as opposed to what man is keep trying to tell me I am. Because, as the more I discovered life and I started looking under each rock and everything, I kept finding things were inconsistent in what I was being taught and what I'm discovering. So I said, nah, that ain't it. That ain't making any sense. But the thing that stayed consistent in my life was what was guiding me through the spiritual essence of who I was. It was constantly heightening my awareness to a level of understanding that when I finally met the gentleman who gave me this paper, he gave me this paper that you all have in front of you from a secret society called the Dogons. And he told me that only 3 people on planet Earth had this knowledge. And one of those people who have this knowledge is probably in uniform with running the planet today because they understand things that most people don't know. And so it would make a lot of sense because when you think about that which is at the foundation of everything, and if you're holding a knowledge and other people don't have that knowledge, then you can't operate out of that knowledge because you don't have it. And so if we look up the word devil, according to the definition, the word devil, in definition, says one who opposes the laws of God. That's the definition of devil. One who opposes. So if we're not taught the laws of God, wouldn't we be opposing it if you don't know any better? And so we have such a society that we're operating against the very essence and nature of ourselves. So this is one of the examples I used to give people all the time. I walk by somebody, and they're digging a 6-foot hole in the ground, and they got a spoon and fork. And when you walk up to them, you just see dirt flying everywhere. They got that spoon and fork just wailing, getting the 6-foot hole done. But you saw them pass a whole shovel and a pick on their way. How serious are you going to take them? But you can't tell them they ain't serious. And so that's the analogy I give for us when we're doing things according to the world standards and we bypass the laws that are the proper tools to get anything you need done. Because he's already designed the greatest tools on the planet. And it all comes through consciousness, awareness. And so society is not privy on teaching the laws of God or the education of laws that will help you understand. It's designed for the few who they want to have it to control everybody. And so that's what this world is about. And so the more you're conscious of that, you begin to say, oh, okay, let's see how we can develop, educate, inform people to reach a level of awareness in which they hold this information and do what they've come to planet Earth to do. Because to me, it's all about creating a level playing field. If every child born has the opportunity to choose, there's a young lady that I've been mentoring for 17 years, and what I said to her, Stacy, I said, Stacy, she's an IT person. And I said when I first met her, because she was struggling with this thing called self-esteem issues, all that. And I said, do you realize that when you're operating out of what you've been taught, you're very limited? Because all you know is that information. Now, if you come over here and start understanding the principles and the laws of God and you add that to your repertoire, now when you got to make choices, you look at it completely different. You're like, well, this stuff over here ain't no good. This ain't working well. I need to go over this and see what I can use. See? And then when you go over here and then you start seeing the results that come back, you're like, good God Almighty, this stuff here is real. And that's what people always say to me, man, this stuff is real. And I just laugh. Because Jabez of the Bible would talk about miracles on a daily basis. And that's what, when you operate out of a higher consciousness of law, it appears that you're working miraculously. Because everybody else is looking at you like, what you doing? You know? And it's like, well, I'm just following the law. But it's foreign, even in the church. It's foreign. Yep. And so, you know, as a young person, I'm saying, what is going on? This is crazy. That we're operating against the very essence and nature of self, of who God intended us to be. Now, so when we look at these first 4 laws, which I'm only going to talk about today, and each one of them, there's a 6-month training inside of each law. The second law, after you have your reason for being, look what the second law is, y'all. Now, why is the unity the second law that governs the entire planet? Because what unity really represents is success. Every time you contract with yourself, you make an offer. How'd you get to bed this morning? How many of y'all know what a contract is, according to the spiritual world? There is a physical contract, but all contracts work the same under the law. There are three components to each law. To every law, there's three components. And this is why sales is so powerful. The first component is an offer. The second component is consideration. And the third component of a contract is acceptance. So I tell people all the time, the way Jeff Bezos built Amazon is no different than how you got out your bed this morning. You had to make an offer to yourself, then you consider the offer, and then you either accept it or you don't, right? Very simple, very fundamental. And that's how the whole universe is designed, just like that. That's why we end up deciding making the book. Stop making it so hard. Because we are conditioned to complicate thought processes when it's all simple. It's either you will or you won't. It's either you are or you're not. That's how everything is designed. When you think about righteous and unrighteous under the law, you're either going to operate and do it according to the righteousness of God or you're not. We got all these terminologies now that's been conditioned in us to live in judgment. That's blocking and creating blockage so you don't really understand the basic concept of simplicity. I took my name, for memory's sake, to take 4 laws that pretty much I present always: the law on practicality, the law on accountability, the law on unity, and then the 4th law, the law on labor. Because this is the formula that's needed everywhere. You have to have a practical approach. You have to have people who want to be accountable to process. You have to unite with what it is that you say you're going to do, and then you have to do the work. Simple, simple. So we're doing the exact same thing here. Reason for being, unity, uniting, because when you unite with whatever you do, the offer and acceptance, that's what? In harmony, in agreement. That's unity. That's success every time you do it. So I would say to crowds when I was doing marketing, I said, and they'd go right over their head. I said, all of you all here are successful. They look at me like, huh? What do you mean? Because every time that you make an offer to yourself and accept it, you're successful at it. So it's not the fact that you're not successful in your life. It is that you're operating out of improper knowledge and information. Good God Almighty. Because every time you say, I'm going to make an offer and I accept that offer, success occurs. Because it starts here in the spirit world. Then you manifest the physical results based on where you are on the journey. If you are in harmony with the law and you know you did this and you got this back, the outcome is based on what you put in and what came back to you. It's telling you whether you're following the law or you're out of order with the law, right? Or are you following the process correctly or you're following the process incorrectly? Everything is constantly coming back to us, giving us crystal clarity of process. And so that's what my gift is helping people to understand the process. I spent my life studying the human entity, the spirit world of law, down to the mathematical science of how you and I are supposed to operate according to that law. And so when I'm saying I'm doing this and I got the societal results that would come back to me and whip my behind, it wasn't real hard for me to realize I was out of order. So you get so good at that, whatever you do over and over again, that you know the outcome, don't you? Because it becomes habitual. And once you take on the habit of anything, you know whether the habit that you formulated is for the right or the unright of what? Your goal, your dream, your journey. So here's the measuring device under the law. When you say, I want to be a rocket scientist, I want to be a clinician, I want to be a millionaire, whatever you decide to be, there are fundamental principles that you have to learn in order to apply that in your life. When you don't, then you're on a journey to learn, which everybody is. That's what we come here for. We come here to make known the unknown. So when you're here to make known the unknown and you're fully conscious of that, then you're paying attention to what? The results. Because you want to know, am I getting closer towards my goal? But the challenge for so many people is what they're using as the measurement. What most people are using as their measurement is their emotional feelings. That's incorrect. Your emotional feelings cannot be the measuring understanding of the outcome. It tells you whether you've done it properly or not, yes. But you can't get upset and angry because it didn't work right. You got to say through some logical aspect of yourself, you know why it didn't work right? Because I didn't apply the right process. I didn't use the right tools, which gives you the ability now to go and reassess and try it at a different approach. And so that we see is being shortchanged by people getting to an emotional funk and just giving up too quick. Keep trying and just say, okay, this ain't working. It always works. Everything always works. Because you're getting, based on what you put into it, you're getting it back. And the universe is telling you what you're doing is out of order. But because we're not being taught the law, we don't conclude that. We start thinking that this just ain't working. There's no such thing as something just ain't working. There's no such thing. It doesn't make any sense. Watch this. I want to get over there to that. It don't matter how small my step is. If I keep making these steps, what's eventually going to happen? Right? It don't matter if I'm doing like this. It don't matter if I'm doing like this. At some point, I'm going to arrive, right? If I'm following the process. And so when you are in the conscious state of law, you're not operating based on how fast I get there, like we've all been trained. See, when you got an A, J, and an S in your first letter or second letter of your name, the vowel, you have more of a tendency to want things done now. Yep. This way, I need it done right now. Right? So when you start understanding your vibrational frequency, you already have an opportunity to go, okay, let me balance this information out because I know how I'm going to roll with this. And so all of our letters in our name is speaking to a frequency of how we feel. And so you have so many people trying to get things before the process is given the time to do so. So what I would do, this is what I would say to people. I said, let me give you a real simple understanding of the law that governs time. In the universal side of things, it's called cycles of development. That's a product I've been carrying for about 35 years. I have a product called the Cycles of Development Education. I ain't even released it yet. It's a $1 billion product. It's 7 steps in there that tells you universally how things function. It's not like all of us don't know it. But we run ahead and start applying programs instead of what the natural law is teaching us. Those 7 steps begin to help you to understand, oh, wow, I'm just in a development cycle, as opposed to saying it ain't working. I ain't got all the tools together yet. I'm in a development cycle. Every last one of us in this room right now are in a development cycle on some level. And you're not going to break through until you do what? The proper steps to get the outcome that's desired. And if you're not conscious of that, you might just be stuck for 20 years or 2 or 3 lifetimes, or whatever you decide. See, when I finish with y'all, only with your permission now, I'm going to reveal to you that the power of God is not with you, it is you. And see, for some of us, that's scary. Because when God said, let us make man and woman out of our likeness and our image, he wasn't playing. Because you see, when you take on the mind of God, the Spirit of God, you're taking on the knowledge and wisdom of God. But you can't take it on without your permission. You can't take it on dumbing yourself down like this world is doing. You got to decide, God, use me. Use me as you will. And let me be me, because I came to planet Earth to express myself. And that's what each and every one of us came to this planet for, to express ourselves at our fullest capacity. So when you short yourself for that, You can't look at mom and daddy. You can't look at God. You can't look at white man and say, you can't look at nothing. You got to look in the mirror. What Michael Jackson say? You got to look at the man or the woman in the mirror. He said, the only reason you ain't living up to your full potential because you ain't ready. See, I don't even beat up on folk. I don't say, because you ain't ready. See, let's keep it simple. You ain't ready. And it's okay, because you might not be ready in this lifetime. It may take 2 or 3 lifetimes before you're ready. It's okay. See, when you think about the creator of the universe, he ain't tripping. He knows who each and every one of us is by the creation and design that he made. So your readiness to move forward progressively is always based on you aligning yourself up with the spiritual world in which the essence of who you truly come here to be. And so when you operate in the physical realm, you're uniting with a carnal part of you that is always going to be unhappy, always going to be miserable, always going to be looking for something to satisfy you on the physical plane. And guess what? None of it works. This stuff is so fun for me, y'all. Pardon me. I've just been doing this work too long. So the third law is the law on clear expression. How many of you all vibing with that? Why y'all think that's the third law? Why do y'all think the third law after unity is the law of clear expression? Anybody? Who got the answer? Why is that the third law, the law on clear expression?
Spirituality is liberation, and we should be free.
That's a good one. And not what I'm looking for. That's a good one. Yes, ma'am. Kay Karen, what's up? Okay, I like that. Make a plan and write it down. See, this is what I'm trying to tell you about simplicity. What happens is when you start asking questions like this, we've all been trained to think too hard. And everything you're looking for is right here. The reason why you need clarity is because you can't move until you see it. See how simple it is? That's true. All of those who drive, when you get in that car, you know where you're going, don't you? And if you don't, what's the first thing you do? Turn that GPS on, right? That's right. You got to follow something. See, these laws are so simple, but they're so powerful. You got to follow something. And I say, Stacy now, I was going to say, because I beat her up for this over 17 years. I said, we are hard-headed, stiff-necked rebellious because we fail to submit to leadership that's good for us. We follow all kinds of crazy stuff. But the laws of God are right before us. We think we go, you down, I'm bad. Yeah, you bad, all right. Just keep getting beat up. When you had enough, I say to my niece all the time, I said, just keep living. Because I'm not going back and forth. When you have this information, you don't go back and forth with people. Because there's something in you that already knows. It's just you ain't had enough of what you're dealing with. So when you get enough of that, then come back and talk to me, because I ain't going back and forth with you. You're not operating with clarity. You got all the confusion from this world in you, and you're trying to convince me, out of all people, that this craziness living in you is real and going to work for you. And you think I got time to listen to that? I ain't got time for that. I'm looking for people who are ready to know and understand their true potential. So when people come in the world and trying to debate with me and all this, I don't have time for it. Because guess what? I can tell them the outcome of where they're going to be in 5 years and can tell them what they're getting ready to say to me. And there's a problem when I start telling you everything you're about to say to me because I know the program. I've been listening to it all my life. Right?
I always say you can listen to somebody for just 2 minutes and know exactly.
Exactly. Because it's all conscious. It's all about you choosing the first chapter of the book, y'all, choosing your level of awareness. That speaks volumes to who you are. There's 4 vibrational frequencies in awareness. And whichever one you choose, and you operating in it. It's an offer you made to yourself and you accepted it. How many people even realize that they're choosing their own level of awareness? See? But when you study consciousness for a living, you ain't got to go through all the changes. You can say, okay, that's what that is. I told people 15 years ago, you're going to wake up and this is what's going to happen. People call me 15 years later. How did you know? Come on, people. It's mathematics. So when you're clear on your purpose and you unite it, align yourself with your purpose, then it's time to what? See how everything is organized in the universe? So when you start laboring before you do the first three, you're probably working in behalf of somebody else other than God. Good God Almighty. See? Because he already made the design. And who do you know? Who can you all think of can outplay God? And so understand these laws and this level of information, everybody's subject to. Nobody can usurp it, change it, rearrange it. You can't do it. So either you are a student following it, obediently following it, or you're not. Now watch this. These laws work for the unrighteous just like it worked for the righteous. Are y'all with me? And that's where the church world gets it confused. You can be the biggest devil on planet Earth, and these laws will work just for you, just like anybody else. Because whether you're using them righteously or unrighteously doesn't distinguish between the law. And so, as we, and you all be free to come with many questions and any insight, information you want to share, that's what this is about. When I do sessions, it's about a dialogue of love, understanding, growth, development, and understanding that you and I came to planet Earth for the same reason, to make known the unknown. That's what this is about. Now, so based on the second page, what I want to share with you all is something we're putting together to really help people have resource to go within themselves and have time to really spend that time necessary to make known the unknown, to discover themselves. And so the way we do that is, we don't have a book handy, do we? Let me borrow your book. I haven't been there. So me, again, as being a student of universal law and being in the marketing field, I watched for years companies making hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars. And I'm looking and I'm saying, this is crazy. Because what I started looking at is the wealth that's in the world and how most people are running from it. There's a handful of people who are really trying to get it. But everybody else basically is running from it. And I said, if you really understand the laws that govern commerce, if you go study commerce, they give you these big books, 100 volumes. All again, just a game to distract you. So when I put the laws to commerce, here's what I found commerce is. An offer and an acceptance. That's all commerce is. See? And that's all your life is. Every aspect of your life right now that you're living is based on a contract that you made with yourself. And it's in full force. You're successful. So the question is it working for you? Is it bringing you the intended results you desire? So if it isn't, then that means you need to either reconsider the contract, renegotiate the contract, or make the contract null and void. See? See how I say everything is simple? The more the law comes alive in you, there is no guesswork to nothing. Everything is just like right here waiting on you. It's just waiting. It's like love. Like people running, looking for love in their life. The love you're looking for is already ready. It's present, waiting for you to discover it. You can't find love in somebody else. You got to find the love in you and then share that with somebody else. See, everything, we've just been deceived. As the scriptures say, Satan deceiveth the whole world. That's a powerful statement, y'all. That ain't no joke. Because that's what he spends billions of dollars a year to keep us deceived with things that make absolutely no sense spiritually, according to the law. And I've had people come argue stuff with me, and I'm like, what are you talking about? And you're arguing a point that has no basis. How do you argue something that doesn't have a base? Easy, emotionally. You get caught up in the contract. But you can't prove nothing because there's nothing to it. You have to start with yourself, and then that which governs yourself, and either you're going to be rational or irrational about it. Watch the law. Do you all know that your human emotion is governed by a law? Now watch how the human emotion works. Either the human emotion will align itself up to do what is right according to the law, or an unright spirit has to be entered into the equation. And we all been there. You know that time you was out of control and crazy? That's a demon present. Because your nature won't allow you to do that. So in order for you to go crazy or act crazy, you have to make an offer to call that unright spirit in. Let me give you all a demonstration. See, I love the demonstrations. I was meeting with a guy one day who was a head of an organization named Bob Brown. And he tells me he just had a fight with his son, his teenage son. I said, Bob, you were fighting with your son? He said, yeah. And I had to let him know. I said, uh-oh, here we go. He bit his son. It was trying to justify it to me. I said, Bob, I think you went a little too far here. He said, my son need to know. And then he proceeded to tell me when he was a child, and anytime he was losing the fight, he bit the person. He said, yeah, because my son was getting the best of me. So I had to let him know. But he rationalized it in his mind that was okay. And that's how we see a lot of craziness going on every day. Because it's so subtle how it starts. But you take yourself into a darker and darker and darker and darker place till you don't know the difference between righteous and unrighteous anymore. Because the devil's spending billions of dollars a year to make evil, wickedness fair seeming. And that's how he's capturing so many people, so many souls. I tell people all the time, that's not civil behavior. I do that with intent. Because they have made so much in the black community behavior that is uncivilized, civil. This is okay. This is how it's supposed. No, it ain't. Ain't nothing you doing is of God. Ain't nothing that you doing that is God-like. That is under the laws of righteousness. That is a total unrighteous act. But it's so easy to justify when you got a motive behind it to make you feel, yeah, I got them. Told them. But that don't make it righteous. And so what we have to understand is the power of you, your being, is under you, completely under a contract. And your contract that you made is all through the offers of your life and what levels of what you've accepted. So when I said earlier today about Kathy Hughes making that statement, that thing rang in me because I've been listening to my elders for years. And when they say something profound, man, I go into a state of funk. I had Nettles Bay, who was the guy who shared this information with me. He's in his 80s now. And the other person was Frances Cress Welsing, for those of you all know her, medical doctor. She was in her 80s when she transferred, transitioned. And they both said something 3 days apart. And I was sitting in front of both of them. And when they both said the same thing, I went into a state for 45 days, where I just kind of like Brother said earlier, I went into a meditation state. Nettles Bay, well, she said first on Thursday. She started her lecture. She said, who wants to talk about white supremacy, racism? And the whole room filled with silence. She said, see, nobody wants to talk about it. And then 3 days later, we were in there talking about history and stuff, and something came up, and I asked Julie, and I said, how were the people who took over planet Earth were able to do so? I'm trying to really figure this thing out. How were they able to do this with all the knowledge, wisdom that we have and have always had? And he said something right there. He said, because nobody talked about it. And then I looked among us right now today, and I saw the same dynamic going on. That the knowledge that lives in us from century to century, from decade to decade, from generation to generation, we're not talking about who we are and whose we are anymore. We become docile, complacent. So the ministry is about not to comfort the afflicted, it's more so to afflict the comfortable. We're being lullabied right asleep. When we were in marketing, we would say the best way to boil a frog is to put him in the water and just turn the temperature up a degree every minute until it reaches 212. And that frog will let you sit right there and boil him. Ain't that something? So what about you? So that's why that Kathy Hughes statement hit me when she says, are you just going to participate in your own demise? Wow, what a thought. Because that was happened so many generations to people who are carrying around the knowledge and wisdom of God. Now, whether we acknowledge and access and applying it, Reverend Burnett, that's another thing. But we definitely got it in us. The question is, what are we doing with it? Are we making light of it, making fun of it? Or are we going to get serious enough to make change? And so here's the plan that come to me in understanding. There are 4 basic quadrants to our lives in terms of economics, business. Simple. And so there's so many things that can be done when you start studying the law of commerce and how to get on the side of retail, sales, or just having access to selling and distribution, that you can start generating money way, way beyond your wildest imagination. There's a gentleman, when I was telling you about who gave me this sheet, Nettles Bay, he got 600 products that he has in his marketing platform. I witnessed, with dealing with him for about a decade, that he got some of the greatest products on planet Earth. Guess who created those products? Melanated people, people look like you and me. Guess who created them products? And I said to Julian, Julian, why don't you take these products and get them into a system where they can be experienced globally? I'm telling y'all, these products have changed people's lives. They brought them back literally from the dead. That's how powerful these products are. Some of them have to deal with cell food that energizes the body, so you would never get sick with a cold. Some of them have to do with things that people had terminal illness, and they took these products, and the terminal illness subsided. I mean, just stuff that most people never been exposed to. But all these pharmaceutical drugs that's killing us, we all exposed to that, right? And y'all all know it ain't the pharmaceutical drug that's killing you, it's the side effect, the majority of the time.
And they tell you that, too.
Right, exactly. But that show you how programmed we are. Put it right there on the TV. And by the way, let me tell you this, and you're going to be dead. I need some of that. And so there's a natural remedy for everything according to the law. It's already something natural that was designed to bring you back to your natural state. But they keep trying to make us think that all this stuff that they're creating is real and the stuff of the past. Let me even give y'all a real good one. When COVID first hit, the people from the islands all got online and started putting the remedies of what would keep you safe from the virus. And as soon as the media got hold of it, and the same people who were taught by these island people who taught them medicine, they got online and shut it down. They said, you can take a pot and you can put this and this, and they told you all the ingredients to put in it, and let the steam come from the pot, and you just absorb the steam into your nostrils, and it will burn any nuclear cell coming from that before it catches. And so they saw that because they already had a plan. They got to get everybody on this same plan. See, let me get back on track. And so for me, I just want to make sure before I leave here and transition that some young people know who they are and whose they are. That's my mission on this planet. And so, and I'm saying, because this thing getting crazy, y'all. I mean, the stuff I don't know what y'all exposed to, but stuff I'm getting exposed to, it's getting crazy out here. These people losing their mind, the stuff I say. And that makes sense based on the time we're in. Because, the scriptures say the devil gets so mad, he appears himself, throw all his, front people out the way. He's just out of control. But it's like we need to realize the power that's in us and how we keep allowing these things to happen. And most things came from our original thinking, what we taught. The power in us coming from historical data in melanation. The melanin, as Francis Welsing talks about, melanin and melatonin of this body. Good God Almighty. If we start opening up what these people call themselves white folks, studying us, and we really start talking about this stuff, it probably would scare most of us. Because we can't even think on a plane some of these folks thinking on. But the genius that's already present in us, if tapped, if evolved, It's serious stuff. Because we're here to make known the unknown. But it's based on your readiness. So it's all about, people say, when are we ever going to come together and wake up? When we get ready? It's always the answer. Because, you know, if you notice who we are, we like the islanders, like the Africans. Whatever, man. Is when we, you know, cool, man. Because we don't feel rushed. We don't feel in a hurry. Now, some of us need to put some fire under our assets. But we don't feel that way. The European, when he came to planet Earth, based on his history, he was given a clock that he had a certain amount of time to get everything he needed to survive for the year. See, you and I have no concept of that. We can't feel that. So they have a time consciousness in their mind that they're functioning on. You even see it in their walk. But you don't see it in ours. We just cool, baby. I know what's up. What's up? Okay? And it's because we are the Alpha and the Omega. We were here in the beginning, we're here in the ending, so we don't operate in that frequency. But the more you understand your relationship to your higher self, your divinity, you got some work to do. Now, if you don't get it done, it's okay. The consequences are going to come. And you may come back another lifetime, and still got to finish your work. It's like any job, right? You got assignment, you go do your assignment. So that's what the reason for being was all about this morning. Understanding that you have a power in you, that you come in with some gift, talent, and ability to deliver to humanity to take us a step forward. So in my conclusion of this here, what we want to do, and this is where I need to sit down with Reverend Burnett and start talking with her in leadership and then other people who would be leaders if permitted, if it works to God's approval. That we need to understand the movement of this world system according to the laws of God and not what man keeps trying to do. Because what he's trying to do, he's going to keep trying to do because he don't know no better. That's all he knows. Like everybody. Everybody doing what they think they know is right, whatever that means. There's a difference when you know what's right based on what's righteous under the law. Because all of us kind of were raised by parents that we do what we think is right based on that. But there are laws that tell you with mathematical certainty what is and what isn't. There are laws with mathematical certainty that tell you what works and what doesn't work. And so when I started looking at this resourcefulness, the distribution, and the world resources, I'm saying, this is crazy. I sat down with a man about 7 or 8 years ago. Under Nettles Baptist, this guy met him through him. He had a product. It was a spray. It's called All Life Spray, if you all ever heard of it, All Life. The spray was miraculous. You could take the spray, cut yourself, and spray the cut. In 24 hours, the cut is gone. It healed. My nephew fell off his bicycle and turned blue. You know how that hit yourself so bad it blew? I sprayed him with the spray. The next day, he was back to normal. I said, wow, this spray is incredible. So I started sitting down with Dr. Bean, who was the inventor of the spray. And I said, you know what? We need to take this to the market in a way that the world can get exposure to it. I said, now come on. If they got a Band-Aid all over the world, this spray would be in every woman's pocketbook, everybody's household. And he was scared. He told me, I just need to make $250,000. I said, you got to be kidding me, right? All you want to make is $250,000? I'm like, you gonna put us in the poverty house. If you the man who invented this and you're going to make it $250,000. So a part of what we do in teaching is helping us to deal with that whole spirit of self-sabotage. Because most of us are scared to death to make $100,000 or $1 million or $10 million or $100 million. Because there's things in us that haven't been tested. So a part of what we do in this developmental process is really help us to understand you are so much more than you realize, but you got to start with a purpose in your life. And this is where so many people are stuck, your reason for being. Because when you don't have yourself grounded in a purpose, then all your desires start rushing to the front when you start getting access. And Lord, some of them desires that we have ain't necessarily healthy. So I've seen people, in the marketing world who actually, were doing so well, $35,000 a month, and just watched themselves sabotage every time they went to the top because they had not prepared themselves for wealth. And so material wealth is not for everybody, it's for those who desire it. But there are people who want to be financially secure, which is okay. So whatever a person wants to be, it's based on your contract, what it is you want from it. And when you get what you think you need for your own financial security, then that's fine. But we have to realize is that if we don't create something to start benefiting ourselves, our family, our communities, there's doors closing every day intentionally. And there's a whole movement of slavery reoccurring. And it's not coming in what we see as the change and stuff. It's coming through economics because they're controlling the idea. And so when you buy into the idea, you believe that this is it. This is the only way you can do it. I once presented to a group of people, and I said, most people in business think they have to buy wholesale and sell retail. There are 17 different ways money's being created. 17. And so everybody ain't buying wholesale and selling retail. That's a concept. But there's so many other ways to do it. And so when we talk about understanding resourcefully these 4 areas, trading time for money is how all of us basically have been programmed, trading time for money. So we think we have to have a job in order to survive. Do you all know there are people right now on planet Earth that you offer them a job, they would think you were crazy? Because they're like, I don't work for nobody. I don't work a job. We create jobs for other people. See, that's their mindset. And so when you get to this side of the equation, you begin to understand business systems. Now I'm going to tell you all a secret I usually don't give out like this in an open setting. All success on planet Earth, is governed by systems. There is no such thing as somebody successful without a system. And so when you understand emotions, that's the problem. It's inside of a system already. So when you're operating that emotion independently of some system of the design, then it's going to be what they call a conflict of interest. See? Because the human emotion already belongs to the set. Did y'all get that? I'm talking mathematics now. The human emotion already belongs to the set. So you can't take the human emotion and think you can do what you want with it. It is under a law. It's obedient to the law. Even when we're irrational and crazy, it's still following the law. It's called the law of irrationality. Haven't y'all seen numbers when you trying to get, when y'all were in math and tech math and all that, and you were trying to get the number whole, and you had to do what? Do a fraction. You had to create an irrational number. What was the most important thing you had to do to make that number whole again? Anybody remember? You had to have what before you could reduce it? You had to have a common denominator. See? That means at the base, you have to have the same thing. Because if you don't, it's not going to work. See? See, all the laws that come from the laws, all the information that comes from the laws is giving us everything we need. We just got to do our homework. If you want to be whole, you want to make something whole, it's something that's part, fraction, you have to have a common denominator. You have to bring it into a oneness. See? And that's everything. You got to bring it into a oneness. And so I want to start a movement globally, nationally, community that says, Your assignment is alignment. That's what God gave me the other day. Your assignment is alignment. Your assignment is realignment. That's all we need to say now. Because all the craziness that's getting ready to hit this planet at an angle of craziness, people need to have some code to start aligning themselves back up with their spiritual self. Your assignment is your alignment. Your assignment is realignment with the powerful resource that's already there waiting your arrival. And so how do we do this and how do we start this movement? The way we do this and start this movement is very simple. Because everything we do is simple, simple, simple. We create products of development, personal development. And that's all this book is a personal development product. So we probably got a lot of people who are motivated and inspired now to try to help other people through giving them some type of insight, uplift, to encourage them day to day. I get people sometimes, they get so excited because I want to encourage them to a level where they haven't heard it in a while. Years sometimes. And they say, oh, thank you so much. You've made my day. And I'll be saying, wow, where's this person from? You know, because there's a lot of people out there, they're not getting encouraged anymore. They're around an environment that's taking them, draining them, taking them, draining them. And so you have the resourcefulness of inspiring yourself every day. What are you saying and telling yourself every day that's inspiring you? Because you got the greatest resource. 4th chapter of the book talks about spiritual communication. And it's all about the contract you're making with yourself. What are you telling yourself every day?
That's right.
Because that's what you're creating. That's what's coming back every other day. I did a class in 2009, and this is what I did every time the class started. I would draw 3 lines on the board. And this is, again, this is my gift, simplicity. Because I've been just doing this all my life. And I would say, this is past, where most people stuck. This is present. And then this is the future. So I draw these 3 lines. You remember this, Stacy, in the class, 2009? Just 3 lines. Because I said, we ain't make this stuff complicated. It's simple. I said, whatever you did in your past, you're dealing with right now. Watch the law. Whatever you do today in the present, you're going to create the future. That's God. So it ain't no rocket science here. The problem with us, we're not being accountable for the we creating. You got to be real with yourself. Because yourself, you can lie to all you want, but yourself know better. Is that right? So whatever you're dealing with right now, right, as they say in the South, right now, whatever you're dealing with right now is the life lessons coming to you from your past that you set in motion that you need to get straight. I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. It's the law. And what you want for your future, you better start implementing today in the present. Now, here's what's going on with so many people. So many people are locked in their past, judging themselves from conditions left over from yesterday. And you can release that. Watch this. You can release that at any time. Because the only thing that's keeping you there is what? The contract you made. And so when you're ready to change, change. That's what I told Stacy for years. Stacy, if you can't change the friend you're around, then change the friend you're around. Keep it simple. Because I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the crap of all these people. Because I know they're in the matrix. I don't need to hear that stuff. If you can't change the people you're around, change the people you're around. Because it's all about your journey. If people around you hee-hawing about their life and everything that ain't right in it, Is that going to change it? There's a law we haven't got to yet called the law of abundance. It's the 8th law governs the planet. Inside of that law, it really helps you to understand why everybody who's functioning on this plane is there. Because the law of abundance says there's only 2 states of consciousness you could ever be in. 2 states. One is called poverty conscious, and the other one is called the wealth conscious. And when you're in a wealth conscious, your conscious state is always what? Progressing for change. It's always getting the solution. You become solution-oriented. When you're in a poverty consciousness, you're in a state of mind, you're always looking to make an excuse and blame somebody else. See? But you made the contract. So you see, I had so much fun with this when I be doing seminars. Because I've had people come and they want to attack me. I mean, it doesn't happen often. Because I'm just giving the information out. What I'm saying, I'm showing you did it. Ain't a thing you can say to me about what I'm saying. Because I'm only teaching you the law about you. So when I was in the marketing world, I had so many people wanted to be smart and come at me. And I said, come on with it. Because I love it. Bring it. Bring it. Put on your best hat. I had people, I went near churches, ministers and pastors. I don't know if you want to go in the pulpit to minister. I said, bring them. Because if I'm presenting the laws of God, what in the world are they going to present other than the law? And if they're not, they're going to back it up. Because you ain't that crazy. You might be a little crazy, but you ain't that crazy. If I'm telling you 1 and 1 is 2 and the law is agreeing to it, you ain't going to try to change the outcome of what you know is with mathematical certainty. And so what these laws do, it brings mathematical certainty into your equation on a daily basis. Ain't that right, Stacy? This is the young lady I was telling you I was 17 years of work to see. She don't know what's in her yet because she'll keep saying stuff to me. And I said, you don't know what's in you yet. Because the people that she's been knowing for all those years now, they looking at her different. They saying things differently to her. It's because she ain't the same person she was. It's my aunt in New York said, I ain't who I used to was. But vibrationally, she knows it because she's seen the changes in consciousness, but she can't even identify who she was 10 years ago now. Because that's how the spirit world works. Once you put a conscious approach to your life and want to learn and grow, every day you're growing and changing. So if you're around a whole bunch of people stuck in their past, there's a problem. Family members coming to me, I know you. I said, no, you don't know me. And I don't know you. Because we're going to have a problem. He trying to tell me who I was at 5 and 7 and put me in the category of 5 and 7. I'm not that 5 and 7-year-old. I'm not who I was at 11. Because when you're in the spirit world, you're like a pilot. I mean, you're skyrocketing. Because you feel the vibrational frequency of your growth. You interact with words that are connected to your growth. You're using a language that's carefully chosen. You just don't say words because your word is bond. So when you're speaking into a frequency of understanding. In the beginning was what? The Word. And the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That word ain't no joke. That's why they say that what? Power, life, and death is in the tongue. But we've been conditioned to think we can just say anything and whatever. And them words will get you in trouble every time. Just running your mouth without any understanding. Because there's an accountability that's expected from the words you're putting out there. So the more conscious you are of that, you begin to select your words very carefully. And you don't put words out unless you're ready to stand behind them. Because you understand the power of your what? Yeah, your words, but your contracts. Because they all working, ain't they? Ain't they? Yes. Ain't they? Yes. Come on, y'all. Talk to me. Yes. See? So, I love having audience of people who are having all these issues and challenges in their life. Because what I do is I start with understanding the foundation of where all of it came from. your choices. One of the greatest powers that we have on planet Earth is our ability to choose. And so many people take it for granted. They don't realize that the things you're choosing every day is manifesting in your life, either for your benefit or for your demise. Either for your progression of your goals and dreams or to your detriment because you're operating somebody else's. And so the way I like saying it is, everybody who has a goal and a dream will accomplish that goal and the dream if they focus that goal and the dream on directives that they're clear on their contract. When you're not clear on your contract, you may be under the auspices of somebody else's dream, fulfilling it for them. And again, that's okay if that's where you are. Your joy and happiness may not come from it, because usually you operating in somebody else's dream ain't about making you successful at whatever you're trying to do, right? And so that's the power of business again, being control of your destiny. That even if you have a job and it's a good job and you're doing the things you want to do and you're focused on your destiny and goals and dreams, that's okay, because you still have an independent ability to do. But when you're under somebody else's goal and dream and you are being paid what they think you're worth, that has to change. That has to stop, because our babies will not survive. They're just not going to make it. And here's why it's so important to understand this. The time we're living in on planet Earth, the scripture says, as it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the ending. In the beginning, there were no jobs. And that's why we see everything breaking down. There were no jobs in the beginning, folks. Man created jobs. So in the ending of this thing, all the jobs will be gone. That's why we kind of see all these technological advancements and people being able to do all kinds of stuff from home and everything. It's because a job, as we used to say in marketing, just over broke, is designed to pay you just enough to get you to come and just enough so you won't quit. That's how most of them are designed. And so what we want to do in this 8 million people movement is to begin to create an environment that's conducive for people to be able to do entrepreneurial endeavors with a support network. But the most important part of all of this is the training. We have a 22-hour training that we want people to become marketing managers of what we're talking about, this system of distribution, to help people to understand simplicity. It will take you less than 4 hours a week to implement this system once you're trained. Again, one product will generate $11 billion. So as we take other products and do the same thing, each one of those products will generate billions and billions of dollars through a system of distribution. And all the distribution will be is automation that everybody in the world is doing now. So when we think that Amazon, I got to order from Amazon because Amazon is it. Amazon helping your family out. Amazon wanted me to give them 40% of this book that I created. They did nothing. But they 40% every time somebody buys one. I said no. Pardon me, I said hell no. Because I'm a marketer. I'm saying it makes more sense for me to set up a affiliate. Thank you. Yeah, I know I just affiliate program and pay people who refer, and just giving Amazon 40% because they're already rich. They don't need no more money. So everything we're doing is designing to empower people. That's been my life's work, by the way. I'm here to empower people to their greatness, to their potential, to their ability to do for self, because that's the time we're living in. When you're in tune with the laws of God, you know it's about you learning to do for yourself. And what I am really struggling with is so many African-American males, black males, young, middle-aged, older men, who are somewhat handicapped because not being taught personal accountability. I'm going to see it as an epidemic today. And it's very, very dear to me because I see the model and how it's happened over the years, coming from slavery and then coming from parents working hard, and all the way until I look at my grandmother's generation, how she raised her daughters and spoiled her boys rotten. And they all became so dependent on a woman they couldn't do for themselves. And see, the worst thing a woman needs in this working class today of society is a man operating as a baby. He can't do for himself. Now, I don't know how many of you all can parallel this, but the whole concept of Jesus the Christ, he was what? Nailed to the cross, hands and feet, right? How many of you all realize the whole symbolic message was talking about he wasn't able to do for himself? If I nail your hands and feet to the cross, you can't operate. And so the psychological ramifications of people who were behind that, Jesus was liberating the people. All the disciples were what? Business people but one, Matthew the tax collector, right? And he was somewhat independent. And guess what? They were able to follow him because they all had their own business. The ones that had jobs couldn't follow him, could they? Jake, we get back to you. I got to be work Monday morning, 8 a.m. See, everything, there's something there that oftentimes goes over to people because we're not a student of the laws that really will reveal stuff to you that you may miss. Because they were really saying that we want to put this man in a situation that he can't do for himself, so they send that message to everybody who follows him. Now, watch the parallel. In 1933, Franklin D. Roosevelt created a bill called the New Deal. Y'all go research it. Those of you all too young to know. And in that New Deal, it was a program in it, something for nothing. And this is what Nettlesbay told me, the brother who gave me this sheet. Because he got a Dogon knowledge in him, a history that, for those of you who don't know who the Dogons are the people who were given credit for bringing the knowledge to planet Earth. So when you go on your history books and look up the Dogons, it says it. They were given credit for bringing knowledge to planet Earth. The Dogons were taught by the Nomos, who were number people who could live on land or water. They were called amphibians. They could live on land or water, and they taught the Dogons. Today, Dogons live in the cliffs of Mali in Africa. But what makes them so different and unique, if you met a Dogon right now, he would say to you, you have powers that you don't know about. And what the Dogons had the ability to do, they could look up into the sky and meditate with the stars. And then they could start telling you stuff about yourself. And you'd be like, man, this is crazy to us. Stuff like that is so far removed now. But that's what they were known for. So Galileo and his father caught a Dogon and enslaved him in the 1500s. And he taught them about the stars. And that's why they were so accelerated among everybody on the constellation of stars, because they were taught by the people who knew about the stars. Now, let me bring this right home to you and me. If you go home right now and meditate tonight for just 5 minutes in your quiet time, your quiet space of your place of abode, and ask yourself a profound question. Who am I? And wait for an answer. Some of y'all may have already done it. I ain't doing mess with y'all because you know I love you. But listen to what I'm saying. the more that we go into a spiritual place, meaning a quiet energy of uncovering, revealing aspects of who we are to our higher self or to our lower self to get to our higher self, the more your higher self will respond. Did y'all know that? Yes. I know Reverend Burnett know it. I'm going to say it again. The more that you go into a quiet place and you raise the question about yourself and ask yourself a question, your higher self is commissioned to give you the answer. Now, for some people, that's scary. Because you might be saying, man, I don't want to know all this. Because I know this, I might have to do something. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But it's okay, because here's the mathematics of it. When you don't know, what comes to you is the consequences of that. And if you're okay with that, then that's okay too, right? Because remember, the love of God is his chastisement. So there's a part of God that says, I'm going to send you exactly what you need to get you up off your assets. So you want to sit on for another decade or two or another 2 or 3 lifetimes, go ahead. But it ain't going to be pretty. So it's always an option. I don't know if you all remember, but Kanye West came out a few years back. He said, I believe that slavery was a choice. Y'all remember that? And the people were told on CNN and other places to line up and beat up on him because he made that statement. And I'm saying to myself, how are you going to beat up on a man who told the truth? How could slavery not been a choice? And I'm listening to these people coming out one by one on CNN, beating up on him because he made a statement of fact. So I said to a few people, I said, let me say this to you all in defense of Kanye. Do you all know there's historical records that said 11 million people died because you couldn't enslave them? They gave their life, Reverend Burnett. That was a choice they made. So for them to come out and say what he's saying to be an untruth, you were degrading your own ancestors. Because you cannot enslave a man or a woman who know God. Ain't no man can enslave me. In the life that I've lived and what God has done in my life right now, if a man tried to enslave me, he would have to kill me. Because I'm not going to do it. If you came to planet Earth like I came to planet Earth, you are not going to put me in no enslavement. I used to say to people all the time, these police came and put me on the ground. I said, firstly, I ain't getting on the ground. You get on the ground. Because I know if I ain't done nothing unjust, I'm not getting on the ground. Now, if you need to shoot me, then shoot me, because I'm not getting on the ground. Just that simple. So I hear some of our people saying, well, you need to just conform and do whatever they want you to do. And if they're going to kill you anyway, what you doing that for? Go out with dignity. Now, understand this. Again, because I'm into human beings, and so I'm into study of the spirit world. There are people among us who are warriors. We have warrior spirits. So when you have a warrior spirit, you'll fight it to the death. You ain't going out like that. Now, when you don't have a warrior spirit, you may conform. So that's why it's so important for us to understand energy. Because everybody not here for the same purpose, the same reason in terms of how they function. So some people function differently. But I know when I'm in that warrior spirit and somebody coming to me with some craziness, I'm not conforming to it. Especially if I already know you're crazy. So it's to each his own in your relationship to your divinity. How you going to roll with this thing based on how you've communicated with your higher self. And that's why I would submit to everybody. Spend some time in your quietness, asking yourself some questions in the time we're in about where you are in your higher self so we can move this thing on. You can get to your goal and your destiny and why you come to planet Earth. Because here's the basis of all of this. At the end of this thing called life, at the end of this thing, but we're just talking about this thing called life. I ain't talking about your energy vibration beyond here. I'm talking about just this thing while you're in this. You got to answer. Well, you got to be accountable for what you did. Not to nobody but you. That's who you're going to be accountable to you. When you go back to your higher self, your higher self, what you been doing? I'm just kicking it. Just goofing off, that's all. And so you need to have a good explanation of why you did what you did. Now, if you're feeling real good about you did it because you know you did the best effort you could, then guess what? You leaving with a champion. You leaving with a good connection with your higher self, with God. You good because you're like, I did all I could. But if you know you've been playing and joking and, shucking and jiving, as they say, then you scared to leave. Man, I don't know what's going to happen beyond here. I might go and the devil may get me. No, he already got you. You ain't got to worry about that. So, as I said, we're going to move forward in negotiation and talking with Reverend Burnett on putting this plan together. And what we basically really want to do is start creating some training that will help everybody understand with crystal clarity the process of how all this works. Because it's all simple, but it's like getting the understanding of step by step by step, so it ain't no guesswork. You do this, this happens. You do this, you do just like you do in your life every day now. The things you habitually learn, you become very skillful at. The challenge with so many of us is that we've been conditioned through a poverty consciousness all our life, and we're operating in a lot of ways through poor habits, through poverty habits, instead of understanding wealth habits. So in chapter 10 of the book, it talks about choosing your level of wealth. And that's what that chapter is about. Understanding that everything is based on your readiness. And so if I say I want to make $100,000 a year or $1 million a year, and you choose that, goes back to the offer you make yourself, the acceptance of that offer, and then the game plan. How will I get that done? And so that's what we do as a company, helping people to understand resourcefully who they are, understand their energy through numerology and people basically how to get the greatest support they need to get to their goals and dreams. All simple. And so that's the movement that we say is the 8 million people movement. The more we can get more communities, families, people involved of higher consciousness, higher gratitude, higher energy of wanting to bring it into a state of equal opportunity, if you will, for everybody, that's where it is. So, of course, when Reverend Burnett said about the one God, one thought center for better life, better living, that's what this is all about. There's so many people right now who want a better life. I'm talking about these 15, 20, 25-year-olds that are starting to experience this thing called employment, life, and they're miserable because they're saying, this can't be it. It's got to be something else. And so there's so much more out here now that it's up to us as the elders, those of us who are the elders, to be the support base, to make sure that we lay the proper foundation that the younger generation can begin to flourish, again, with the information that's resourceful. That's the key to all of it. The information that's resourceful. Because you can have $100 million and have no resourcefulness. It happens all the time. And the more resourceful you are, that means you start focusing on how to get the information to others effectively so that there's change. My biggest thing is in the community, until I see a 5, 7, 8-year-old getting some type of independent learning outside of what is structured, I already know there's no change because it becomes more and more predictable. My 5-year-old niece said to me 2 weeks ago, she said, I want somebody to copy me. And she said it was such a passion. And I looked at her and I said, wow. And what she was looking at on the TV, she was looking at some animation of a woman presenting on stage. And the audience was clamoring, oh. And she looked at me. She said, I need somebody to copy me. And I was reading that vibrational frequency, y'all. I wasn't looking at no 5-year-old child. I was reading into that vibrational frequency. And I said, this thing here, she's going to be a mess if we don't get some foundation. Because I see it. I see the power in her saying, I got something great in me, and I'm going to get there one way or the other. And so, for me, when I took Stacy under my wing, because she has an 11 reasons for being like me, and I know I didn't talk too much about numerology and life path, but your date of birth says why you come to planet Earth. So I took her under my wing when I first met her, because her reason for being is the same as mine, an 11, one who came to planet Earth for spiritual purposes. When you come for spiritual purposes, there's 20, 50, 100 young people, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, with our energy looking for us.
Eclectic ecclesia, I call it.
That's right. And there's 5 and 10-year-olds waiting for you based on your energy and what you've come here to do. And so they're looking up for leadership, guidance. And when they don't get it, they just fall right into the mix with all the craziness of the world. And so that's why, for me, it's such a huge honor to wear this badge of spirituality, because I meet people almost daily, if not weekly, who have these spiritual missions and spiritual callings in their life that have shared all kinds of stuff with me. And the 22 people, which are the next level, which is the highest vibration of people who come here with information ahead of their time for future and present gen. Those are people who have a V in the key position of their name most of the time, or just have 22 energy total. Like Brother Kevin, I think he left. But Brother Kevin I talked to earlier, and I was explaining some things to him about his energy. And so what we really need to understand is the resourcefulness that lives in us is what we're looking for. But we're conditioned to believe that it's not us. When I was in Trinidad in 1989, I saw one of the most beautiful things that I've ever seen. The children of the grandparents, while the parents were at work. And when I would watch the interaction between the babies and the grandparents, the 4 and 5-year-old are energizing the 50, the 60, the 7-year-old. And the 60 and 70-year-old pouring the wisdom into the grandchildren. I said, that's what's supposed to be going on. That's what's supposed to be happening. And so we see that that has been somewhat short-circuited here. That is not happening like it's supposed to. Because when you start pouring as a 7-year-old into a 4-year-old, they not the same 4-year-old that you see out there today, or 10-year-old or 15-year-old. It's because they got the wisdom of that 7-year-old in them on a day-to-day basis. So a lot of the things that we're taking for granted is real-time stuff that's changing our world right before us. So I was telling Shining and Joy, she's Joy too, I call her Shining to separate the two. And I was saying, on the way over here, when I was 3 and 4, I was going to 60 and 65 and 70-year-olds, and I was taking everything they had to offer. And I would question them and question them and question them. Because in my mind, I was saying, they're elderly, I ain't going to see them long. And when they leave here, all the wisdom, knowledge, and experience they're carrying is going in the grave. And it's gone forever. So it gave me this insight to get everything I could now. And the young people today are being conditioned to believe that the elderly have nothing to offer them. See? So it is not on them based on their behavior, it's on us. It's because we are feeding from the slop trough of a degenerate lifestyle, and we're accepting this stuff as normal. Ain't nothing normal about this craziness the world giving us. We got to be the ones to put the change in, and it starts with me and you. And so does anybody have any questions before I conclude for the afternoon? Julian Nettlesby. Nettlesby. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's out of the Chicago area. Any other questions or comments? We family now, y'all. Don't be shy.
Well, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Would you say? All right. Would you say that the concept of Satan would be a great example of using the principles in a negative way? would you say to explain righteousness, how you can use it conscious, you can use it right, you can use the principles righteously or unrighteously. Would you say that the concept or what people perceive as the devil or Satan would be a great example of how using principle and law unrighteously?
Hello?
I would say the answer to that would be yes and no. And here's why.
Just giving out another mic in case somebody
Okay.
wanted to ask questions.
Okay. The reason why that would be a yes and no answer is because there's so many people that have been conditioned to operate out of improper knowledge that just because a person may be operating like that would not give them the ability to operate as a Satan. Satan is not just a devil. Satan is a leader of devils or demons or unrighteousness. So when a person becomes a Satan, they're not just your average person. That's somebody who has come with a mission. That's why Satan of the Bible is Satan. What's so important to understand about the Satan of this world is he is dutiful to what he's doing. We have to become crystal clear, because I've had many conversations with pastors, ministers, and bishops over the years, and I said, wait a minute. You beating up on this Satan as your adversary, and somewhat rightfully so, but be very clear. He is one of the most obedient of the scriptures. So let's be crystal clear. What does that mean that he's one of the most obedient of the scriptures? Satan came to planet Earth to deceive the world. He couldn't have done that without God's help. God gave him permission to do that. Y'all remember the dialogue that went on? Every time before Satan could do anything, what did he have to do? He had to get permission. See, that's the power. See? Everything is right under our nose. He couldn't do it without the power. God had to give him the power to do it. What the devil, what Satan represents on this physical plane called Earth, is your and my challenge to see if we will do righteousness or we'll cave to the wickedness of this world. Comes down to a simple mathematical choice.
There's some purpose for it.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, just as you said, everything has a purpose. Nothing
Yes.
that God has created does not have a purpose.
Yes.
So there's obviously some purpose,
Yes.
and part of it is you build spiritual muscle when you have to overcome something
Come on.
that seems to be hard.
Yes. That's
That's
right.
when you build your spiritual muscle. So that's part of the
Yes.
purpose
Yes.
of it.
Come on now. And what I like saying with that, so that you will come out with greater substance. It's all right there, y'all. All right, I know. We just ain't paying attention.
Okay, all right. And my second question is, of course, you know me personally, right? But on your second page, which one of the laws, and I know I can't skip any, right, should we focus on? Or, I mean, if my purpose is to create generational wealth for others, right? And bring people in, and you know me, I hate working, I can't stand it, it's the craziest thing that anybody's ever invented, right? I don't like giving away my time for money, but as a natural person, I can get people, it's hard to get people to drink natural juices, but you go to the doctor and pay that copay, it's so hard. So which one of these principles for a person like me, knowing my name and things like that, do you think I would struggle with? We need to work the hardest in when it comes to people, because we can create a formula, a product.
Right. You can.
We can create a product. We can, right? We can create a product, right? But which one of these principles could we focus on to make sure that the product that not so much that they buy, but if we want to do what Amazon does and distribute it, you know?
Yeah.
If I say, Stacey has a distributing company, but then Kim will say, well, I'm going to go to Amazon because what's one of these principles do you think entrepreneurs can use to
I
create
got you.
this change? That's what I'm trying to say.
Great question. Firstly, let me say this in true response. All the laws will give you insight on how to deal with people because that's what the laws are. They're tools that we need to improve upon our lives. Now, there's some specific based on people's energy and people's intent. The greatest intent when you're talking about dealing with people who have been through struggle, pain, hurt, would be, which two laws, Stacey? The 5th and the 9th law, and we hadn't even got to those yet. The 5th law deals with self-image, and the 9th law deals with unconditional love. Now, the reason why those two would be the ones I would say you need to start with is because when you're dealing with the souls of people who have been through the struggles of this world system, you're dealing with low self-esteem for the most part, self-image perception, and then the 9th law, not loving themselves unconditionally without judgment. So I told Stacia more than 5 years ago, I said, I want you to become a student of the 5th and 9th law so you can take your spiritual gifts and begin to administer to the souls of people. Because what you're going to find is what you're going to keep running into is the 5th and 9th law. Stacy, is that what's been happening?
Yes.
Yeah. Right? So that would be my answer right in part, because the more you understand the tools that you need, you'll begin to go, I'll come out of my emotion about it, and I'll deal with the understanding of what I need to do. When you're in your emotion, you just want to take a hat, bat, hand, or something that's not in the head, right? So when you use the law, it's more effective because you may allow them to go another 6 months, a year, or a week, or whatever, to get some of the things they need to experience to come whole, to become more clear, to become more, oh, yeah, she's right, I know that. But if you just get into your emotion about it, you're just going to feed that unright spirit. So you don't want to take that approach. Now, very specifically, Joy, to your question is, the 8th law is what you would really need if I was given a direct answer. The 8th law is the law of abundance. And so what the law of abundance is, there is an awakening that comes through the study of that 8th law that awakens all of us up. The first thing that you'll come to consciously understand is there is no such thing as poverty. That's the first thing that the 8th law will awaken you to. There is no such thing as poverty. So you see how when we were born and nobody knew poverty until somebody said to you one day, you poor. And you say, well, damn, I didn't know it. You just informed me, right? Because you were never poor. You were only poor once you what? Somebody made the offer to you, and you accepted the idea. So then at that point, you became poor. Oh, I hope y'all starting to see some of this stuff. Yes, ma'am.
So I have a question for you then. Well, if we're applying this principle the way that you say, and that means that there's no deficiency anywhere, when I guess worldly effects or just being in this natural body, you have experiences that you particularly don't like, how do you stay focused using your principle to not get distracted?
How do I?
Yeah, like how do you keep your energy on that? Because if you're
Now,
saying that we can use this principle to manifest anything that we want, and then there's nothing that we don't have or we
Right.
don't have access to,
Right.
when things happen to you, how do you maintain that energy level to say, okay, even though I'm seeing all of this, how do I keep my mind focused on just what the principle is
Yeah.
telling me, which is this is what I want to
Right.
happen?
Well, let me do this in all fairness. The scripture teaches us,
Okay.
study yourself approved. Is that right?
Yes.
Now, I'm going to go deeper now.
Okay.
I'm going to start and I'm going to go deeper, and then how far you want me to go?
As deep as you want to go. Go for
So
it.
the first thing is study in the name of your Lord. Study yourself approved. The more that you give, the 4th law, labor to anything,
Okay.
what happens?
Get results.
Right? It grows.
Okay.
So if somebody has to keep trying to suggest to themselves, believing in something that they haven't put the labor into, that's where the work is. And that's what's going on with so many people. They're not doing the work. They're just talking it. When you start doing the work in the spirit world, you get what? Instant results, instant results, instant results. So at some point, you don't have to keep asking that question. Now, let me tell you what you're really speaking to now.
Okay.
What you're speaking to is when we're dealing with the spirit world, these three lines here, past, present, and future. Here's what you're really talking about. Most people are supposed to be in the present because that's where all your power is. I'm going to say this again, y'all. All your power is when you're in the present, in the now. And where most people are living is somewhere in their past conditioning. And that's what she's talking to, people who are stuck in their past, wondering why they can't move into the future. And usually the reason for it is they have yet to give themselves permission. They haven't given themselves the offer. So if I'm stuck in my past, beating up on myself based on some situation in my life, that situation came to you through the law of attraction for your benefit to come out with greater substance. But instead of you looking at it through the eyes of the law and the spirit world, you've taken on the physical perception of it. And you've judged it to say, this happened to me because I ain't no good. And so now I got to deal with this the rest of my life, or whatever the person did. See, it's all going to come back to the power in which is already there that you created. You got the power to change that at will when you're ready. But it's always about the readiness. So one of the things I'm constantly saying to people in topics like this is, what are you saying to yourself every day? Because in this world, we keep saying things to ourselves that have nothing to do with God and the laws of God that have made you free. And so if you're speaking to all the craziness that the world is giving you, you should be crazy by now. Right, and keep repeating it. Thank you.
With anything in your mind, you just like, it's like when I said I was suffering anxiety. I had to make the conscious decision to tell my brain, no, I'm not. Every single time.
Come on.
Every single time, because nobody else was going to tell me. Nobody else, when I was in the bed by myself, couldn't get out of the house. Nobody else was going to remind me I had the tools. I had the tools, but I had to make a conscious decision that I am loved, that money is attracted to me, that I do not have to work hard, that I had to keep telling myself that over. It's a conscious decision. So it's like me and my dad, we had these discussions. It's like, are we going to continue to be, he don't like when I say this, but consciously making the decision to be unconscious? If you know that it's you that tells yourself that you're not worthy, if it's you that believes that you don't deserve these things, if you know that it's you, tell yourself something different. It doesn't matter what we present to you. It doesn't matter how we lay it out on the table. If you not ready, if you don't want it, we be in our own way.
That's right.
We be in our own way 99.9% of the time. That's what I wanted to offer.
You got a question over there. Over there. See, that's what this is about, y'all. We got to take this global community. We got to get real talk back into the community. It's gone. This real talk, y'all. All that housewives, that ain't real talk. That's all made up TV stuff. We got to do real talk back to self, because that's what the soul wants. Soul want real talk. Soul don't want that craziness. Go ahead, bro.
I love your question. It was great. I heard somebody say on BMF, the weapons of mass distraction.
Yeah.
And we buy into it. And I remember back in the 70s, I listened to Dennis Waitley. He said, it's not what you call me, it's what I answer to. And when I look back at myself, I graduated bottom 10% of my high school class. I was not capable. My teachers told me, you don't want to do college prep, you're not college material, and I wasn't. In my mind, I accepted it. But somewhere along the way, 12th grade or thereafter, I read Think and Grow Rich, ran across Magic of Thinking Big, Power of Positive Thinking, Power of Your Subconscious Mind, Successful Positive Mental Attitude. They were all saying the same thing. And then even decades later, God got my attention. I read the Bible. And then there's just several scriptures that just keep jumping out at me. And as they jumped out, when Jesus had cursed the fig tree, he said, and Peter was amazed that after he cursed the fig tree, the next day it was withered from the roots. We know trees take years to wither to the roots when it starts dying, but it was instant. And the first thing that Jesus said was, have faith in God. Then he said, for verily I say unto thee, whosoever shall say unto this mountain, specific, huge thing that we are not capable of moving, be thou removed. That means you're speaking to it directly. And be thou cast into the sea. Not only get out of my way, but never come back. Wow. He said, and shall not doubt where? In your heart, your emotional state, your belief and mindset. But believe those words that he saith, he shall have whatsoever he saith. Then I said, wow, that's powerful. But I believe in the next verse he said, whatsoever things you desire when you pray, believe, not just hear, but hear.
Yes.
And you shall have them. So it's really mindset, and it's that paradigm, that reprogramming, which you can do at any given time. Not just when you said the kids, and I like the way Magnificent Mellow Madeline said, even the old people, you said, reaching, because I had gotten to a place in my life when I read those books. I was Mr. PMA. I was buying books for people. You need to read this. You need to read this. And somewhere along the way, I got reprogrammed. And I had a mindset of lack and limitation. Things I was good at doing, I could not do. But it was only because I accepted something somewhere along the way in belief. I attached to some negative energy. It became mine. And then it was like the prodigal son. I came to myself to recognize who God was, what he had really given to all of us, and all of the laws. I just had to reapply myself to my thinking. And once that thinking started, it was back to the Think and Grow Rich, the magic of thinking big, the true laws and principles. And I love what you said, because I remember hearing Christians talking about God's going to do this and God's going to do that. No, he's given us everything we got to do.
That's right.
And so, and people ask, well, how come sinners are prospering and Christians aren't? Because they're applying the laws and we're not.
That's right.
So when you said the word distracted, that's the problem.
Yeah.
The distraction is I'm looking back. I graduated bottom 10% of my class. I was out of 350 students, I was number 300. It's only 50 kids dumber than me. And somewhere along the way, I went back to that. But then when I saw what God told us, I went forward to say, wait a minute. I started looking at my future. Goals that I set. When I set those goals, and I believed it, I told people, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. It just started working.
Yes.
I forgot all about being the dumbest, being number 300 or 350. Not only did I go to college, I taught college. 6 different colleges. I taught corporate computer classes in 12 different states.
Wow.
I taught a corporate computer class at Yale University. It blew my mind. Blew my mind.
Yeah.
So the point of it is, don't get distracted. Keep your eye on the prize. God didn't make you wrongly. You're doing it wrongly. The laws will work for everyone. And when I got to the place where I forgot it, I didn't really forget. I took my eye off the prize and I applied the laws in the opposite direction of where I wanted to go. That's why that other scripture that says, as a man or woman thinks in their heart, that's your emotional frame. That emotion, and any emotion, any thought you hold on to backed by emotion goes deep into your subconscious, and that's where the manifestation happens in the natural. So when you say you want to do stuff, but you seem to get knocked down, we look at, oh, I got knocked down. No, you didn't. You just got put in a place to learn more, to propel you further, faster. But what do? I can't believe I got knocked out. And I'm just here now. I'm in the mud. I got my white suit on. And we wallow in it, and it gets worse. Instead of getting up, cleaning it up, and say, where was I going? Okay? And Your interactions on the strength builders. Every so-called failure, every so-called setback is to build that muscle for strength. And you know I talk about exercising. You do a little bit at a time, but the more you do it, the stronger you get. The more weight is put on you, the stronger you're going to get to propel you faster. Because now I can't go as slow as I went. I got to go faster because I had that, what we think is a setback. No, there's something to build you. Never get distracted. Keep your eye on what God told you. The principles are there. They're simple. And this young man said to me one day on the call, he said, "You're not in the wrong place. You're right where you're supposed to be." I don't remember the question, but when you said that, apply the law. So I was in a place of not what I thought was not enough progression. But once you decide what you're going to do, your progress will just keep continuing, like those tiny steps.
That's right.
And that's it.
And sometimes it doesn't look like progress. For you, pagan, sometimes it doesn't look like progress. And that's why the impatience in people is a challenge. Because if your environment is a supportive environment, it's different when you keep messing up. But when you're in an environment of everybody who's all operating against the natural law, that's where the real problem comes in, because there's no support network. Everybody's trying to re-encourage you to do things that are not going to ever bring you out of it with substance.
And let me say this, regardless of how it appears, you have to know with certainty that it's happening, and it's happening now. And this, I may be taking a tiny step and this might look like it's real big and it's more there and comparing and all that. No, that's where you get to know with certainty it's happening, regardless of what the distractions seem to be or how it appears.
And the way you get to the know is faith. You've got to believe. That's where the power is in all of us. Yes, ma'am.
I had to learn that. And so I have a saying for myself. And I remind myself to stop standing on the Charlie Brown principle. Why is everybody always picking on me?
And see, that's relative to her energy, y'all. Yes. See, that's relative to her energy. Yes.
I'm sorry, I could not say anything. He keeps bringing me up, so I could not say anything. So, like he said, I've been around Paul 17, maybe 18 years now. And I have noticed that I was always life of the party, everybody always hanging around me and everything. But now a lot of times people will say, "You're always by yourself." Or they'll say, "I noticed that I get dropped off invitations." I was on just recently, a whole group text, a young lady, one of our friends, it was like 5 of us. One of us had lost one of the young ladies had lost 2 family members. And we're all on a group text together. Hey, I'm like, give her address and everything. Next thing I know, I look online, they're all at her house in Detroit. And I was like, well, let me scroll through. Did I miss my invitation? And then it's like, oh, okay, but I'm getting a lot of that. It's a lot. When you start focusing on the 5 and 9 and your purpose, you realize that all the other stuff kind of falls to the wayside. I don't have time to, and so I don't have time for certain things. So now I take it as a compliment, because I'm like, you're not inviting me because I'm not going along with it. I'm not the one that's going to go along with you going to talk about this person and that person, because you're probably doing the same thing to me. So you're not going to invite me anymore because I'm not going along with it. So I've learned that as I start to focus on the 5 and the 9 and understanding my true purpose, I'm like, the people don't like me no more. I always tell Paul, I don't have no friends but my daughter. Yeah, it starts to fall off. It really just starts to fall off. And it's like, as someone who's always been the life of the party, even though when I still go out, I'm just now normally by myself, or I only get certain invitations. I don't get the invitations for the I guess, foolishness. I'm going to call it foolishness. But I don't get the foolishness invitations. I get the, well, we can invite Stacy this time. And sometimes people will say, we didn't invite you because we know you're not about that.
Right.
I'm not doing that. So
in other words, their invitations are qualified. See, now it's qualified. Now, that's what happens, though. The more that you decide to spiritually mature, people are going to drop away. But that's why you say, if you can't change the people you're around, then change the people you're around. Because she still be the life of part anywhere she go. It's just the people who she know don't want to be accountable to where she is. And that's okay. They perfect where they are. And that's something I've been saying for people for years. And a lot of times people say, what do you mean they perfect like they are? They crazy or whatever, you know. And I'm like, no, they perfect what they are. You know why? People, here's what you'll always understand why people are perfect where they are. This is true. See, every acceptance they made of the offer they made themselves has made each and every one of us who we are. And God has given us the tools based on the law and how we have chosen the mathematics of our decisions to become the exact person we are today. Because the exact person you are today, you created it. Now think about that. That ain't no mistake. That's perfection. See? So when we say we're not perfect, that's a program. And it comes from the system to make you think that something's missing. That's a part of the whole law of abundance in the spirit of lack. When you understand that everything that you have that has come from God and you have chosen it, either you're going to be in one or two states of mind. You're consciously aware that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, or I'm consciously aware that I ain't. Y'all see how simple this thing is? And so if you're consciously aware you're doing what you're supposed to do, you know you're all right. You're on track. You're perfect. If you are doing things that you know against the law and you're getting outcomes that you don't desire, you're still perfect. But you now are getting the results of what you created. That's right. Y'all see why the name of this book is Stop Making Stuff So Hard? The more you get into these laws, the stuff is like right here. It's your mouth.
You got to come back.
Yes, ma'am.
More than once.
Oh no, we gonna get love going here, because we're gonna do whatever we got to do to start making this a wonderful reunion and connection and God's will. Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
When we come back, we're going to bring more books for those who want
when-
books signed and bring it.
Yes.
If you can't wait, you can go online to
We will take your information, your email address, and she will take your information, your name, your number. The mic. Oh, I'm sorry. Excuse me, I'm sorry. If the website, or we could take your name, your phone number, and your email address. We'll make sure you get a copy. We promise. We'll make sure you lead you in the right direction. And the name of the website is
discoveringaPurposefulLife.com. DiscoveringaPurposefulLife.com. You can go online and type in discoveringaPurposefulLife.com, all one, no breaks. And the site should come up, and you can order the book on site. It's $40 though when you do it on site. When you get it here, it'll be $35 because there's a $5 what they call it, charge for shipping. Yeah, shipping and handling. DiscoveringAPurposefulLife.com.
Did we have any people online who had questions or comments? Take a quick glance. We just want to thank you for being here. Thank you for a wonderful day, very thought-provoking and heart-provoking. You know, we have worked during the Lenten season on developing a conscious, collective consciousness. The awareness that, and we've been doing it for the whole 28 years we've been here, but now it is intentionally conscious that our world can be a world where people understand and obey. And so what I'm liking about being able to partner with you is we get to put some feet on the prayers. We get to put some feet underneath the consciousness and actually produce some new things. So thank you so much. I look forward to having some, we'll talk offline, we'll have some conversations. And everybody who is interested and who is willing, it's our time. That's just how it is. It's our time. You know, let's just do it. It's our time. Yeah. That's right. That's right. It's all good. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever I am, God is. And wherever we are, God is. And so it is. Amen? Amen. Thank you. All right.